Okay, testing, and transition. Okay, we are back. Okay, yesterday, I was continuing with my, this sculpture is um, it's an armor, and I started with the helmet, then continued with the chest piece, then hip, legs. And now I am working with this arm protection, kind of a gauntlet, not exactly a gauntlet. And yesterday the stream was 2 hours long, and I was kind of tired at the end. Didn't want to continue unnecessarily. So here we are. The um the thing that I couldn't finish yesterday was um, these bikes. Um, it takes a lot of time filling the scaffold, so I prefer to leave it like that yesterday. To leave it like that. So continuing. So here I changed to the feel smooth. So this way I can feel these huge gaps or holes inside the structure. I wish there was a better way, easier way to do this, but this is the only way I've found. Um, check here. Okay. All right. One of the main goals that I want to create this armor is to use it on a Tibari contest for animation, but this is getting so big that I'm not exactly sure if I will be able to participate. And there are still a lot of pieces left to work, so I don't know. I could use old pieces. Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. I have a golem, an old golem. Could use that. But it will feel like I'm putting no effort uh, into my participation. I mean, I wanted to use a new sculpture, and and feel happy about that sculpture. I mean, that golem I created in January is not as aesthetically pleasing as um, this armor. I mean, if you're not happy with what you're doing, so why are you gonna do it? So if I use the golem, I won't feel happy trying to animate that. It's not what I would call one of my best sculptures. So then again, I have a few images for reference. I'm not exactly copying this, as you can see. It's just using real life reference for joints and uh, you know, to know which pieces to sculpt based on something that is real. Um, because maybe I will have created the chest and shoulder pieces um, into one huge solid piece. But then I started to look at these references and also a couple of documentaries about medieval armor, and that's when you notice that they have this shoulder piece apart um, from the chest because they have to protect the armpit from from swords and pointy objects. It's quite interesting if you look for documentaries about um, armor from medieval times. Henry VIII, I think, is his name. He had a very expensive armors, and the concept of knight in the shining armor comes from those times. Most of them have their um, silver-looking armors, and they had a lot of this etching on their armor. And uh, if you had money, you can pay for a higher quality or designs in the etching. So I will assume that this over here is cheaper than maybe this one or this one or this one, um, because because of the lack of detail you can see, and and also that there is a misconception about the armors, um, because that's something that actually I thought too, that this kind of armors were slow, that you have a restricted mobility. But if you look for those documentaries, you can see people testing actual real armors, um, um, made in the exact same way as the originals from the Middle Ages, and they can jump, they can run, they can um, ride horses. I mean, they sometimes need to make a jump from or to the horse from the ground, and they are able to do it. So it's quite impressive. The pinnacle of protection. Also, um, so that there are not many armors that have full enclosed um, protection, meaning that some of them um, have uh, space, a wide space into the groin or back area, or as you can see in this gold one, it has a slight space in the shoulder or in the elbow, and also in the groin area. But I saw one that have fully cover, and of course those are expensive. So the one who paid for that armor had a lot of money, and um, they made a comparison of how much um, an armor costs based on modern times prices, and it costs like a house. I mean, you already have your expensive castle, and you just buy an armor because you want to be fancy, and that's why all these armors have this curlicues and etching on top of them, because the the rich person who paid for them, they want it to be fashionable, and it's quite interesting. I mean, I would love to know more. Um, but it happens that way when you are looking for information regarding something, you learn about um, that particular subject, and that thing about Henry the Eighth, that um, he had his armory close to I don't know if it's his castle, but he had the armory near, so like um, not that far. So the noise from what is the word? Oh, I forgot a word. Well, the noise from hammers and the process of creating the armor, which was too noisy and also requires fire. Um, he put it near his house, home or whatever, near enough so he can visit, but not that far, so he can go and every day, and so he could go there every day and say, oh, I want this or that, um, or the guys making the armor, they were able to test um, the his measures, because he was a really big fella, so they need to fit. And well, since I'm not from Europe, I have no idea about um, um, the culture surrounding knights, and and all that. And I also saw, I was watching a few shows where um, I think it was from 2005 when TV show when they um, ask men from around the world different jobs to join a force to test jousting, and that's crazy. And how they, I mean, I always saw jousting in a few movies, and I thought that um, the point was to knock um, your opponent. And sometimes I saw that. What is the name of that? Oh, I don't know the name. Let's know the name. Need to look for it. The spear. So, um, if you hit your spear against your opponent, and the spear breaks, that's a point for you. And I always saw that in movies, and I always saw that breaking your spear was um, like it was not strong enough. So that's why I thought that breaking the spear was bad. But actually, it seems that breaking the spear, it's a point to you. I mean that you hit so strong, and your hit was in the right position. So that's why the spear breaks. And pushing your opponent from the horse is also um, a point for you. I think there were three things: breaking your spear. Oh yeah, breaking your spear, dropping your opponent. The third one is a hit, a direct hit in the head, which is dangerous. Um, and the whole thing is quite interesting. Jousting is a very interesting sport, and in that show, it was a modern version of um, medieval armors. So they have um, it looks the same. I mean, modern materials with modern protection, padding inside, but it, it's not like um, they are cheating with their armors. So yeah, that's the thing. I was not aware of that big um, history surrounding armors in Europe. And the and the the other thing I saw is that there is an annual medieval games um, in some part of the world, in a medieval, on an original medieval country. So the one I saw, it was in Portugal, and the people from France, England, Portugal, Spain, and I don't know which other country, Germany. But if you have a team, you can join. So it was kind of fun to see the U.S. having a team with a cowboy. So a guy with full armor with a cowboy hat and drinking a beer. That's kind of fun to see. And I think the U.S. won one, but France won another. Jousting is original from France, that's as far as I know. And it's crazy to think that you go to be punched in the face riding a horse. Oh, yeah, but the thing is, if you if in medieval times you were a great um, jouster or great in jousting, um, if you had no title and if you won, um, it's your starting point to become kind of a noble, and it's also interesting. Um, there was another thing that I learned while I was doing my research is that um, jousting was so so widespread and known by everybody in Europe that there are practically no documentation about the whole jousting process because everybody knew about it. It's like um, to say something equivalent in modern times. You don't you don't document the whole Facebook process because you know how it works, or everybody right now has an account. So jousting in the Middle Ages was so widespread and known that there is basically no documentation about it. And the documentation that exists is a or the one I saw in that documentary is a painting depicting um, a joust. Okay, let's see. So as you can see, I have how long I've been streaming? Oop, like 25 minutes, almost half an hour, and I haven't even finished the this first spike. So if by any chance I will have continued yesterday, it'll be like half an hour into the 2 hours plus, you know, it'll have been midnight. I think I was commenting yesterday that there is people that is able to create a piece of art every day, and I find that process totally fascinating. And I think it's because they are so used to um, creating new artwork every day that it becomes really easy for them to spit out ideas and transfer them into a visual idea. I mean, it's like speaking. If you don't forget how to speak because you do it every day. So that's why I think doing something every day is the key to become better at it. You don't forget how to walk. You just know because you do it every day. And talking about walking, I think you just seen people fighting sometimes and they fall and they don't know how to get up because I think people is not used to fall. So, I mean, you can walk. It's a process you do every day, but you don't fall every day because you are so good at walking that uh, you have no problem with that. And when they fall in a fight, it takes them a while to stand up. I think in martial arts, one of the things that they teach you is to fall. I need to ask that. I'm not actually sure. I think have heard about it a couple of times, but it's not like a master on the subject. But I do know a friend who is a master in the subject. He has won a couple of championships. He is a master in karate. He's a sensei. So okay, I'm finishing the first spike. And then the thing is to feel hollow the inside. Yeah, okay, that part is complete. Let's save again. I would like to have a 3D printer, but I don't know if I would use it as much as I would like to. Sometimes I just create my assets for games, not thinking about printing process. So I don't know if it's worth it. But there are things that I would like to print. Not everything, but I mean, if I'm not going to buy a printer just for two two objects, but I would love to print the helmet. Because I want to use it. I want to use the helmet for real. It looks fun to use, and since it was sculpt based on my heads, I know that it will fit. Um, right now, I'm using the mirror to sculpt this. At the beginning I was thinking about not using the mirror, and just I mean, for things like um, arms and legs, just sculpting one side, because I know when I finish this, I might have to break the sculpture, probably in Blender um, to have separate pieces. So if I sculpted one, I know I can mirror that into Blender and create the new one. But I don't know, it looks nice. Try not to overthink about it way too much. So I just start sculpting. I actually don't know if I want to create gauntlets for it. I mean the gloves or hands. I'm thinking about complications, about being too about you adding too much detail. Sculpture is already quite big, so I don't know. It depends. I think the worry context um is for this weekend, so I don't know if I had time. And there's a other subject. I like to think that I know how to properly animate and rig um, um, a sculpture or a model or a humanoid model. I mean, it takes time. It's not exactly a complicated process, but it's a bit tedious because it's a bit slow. I would love not to rig and just do animation, grabbing your. It'll be nice to just export 3D model and just place the bones where the objects are and create its what they call weights, automatic weights, automatic weights. So there is like I mean each bone it's mapped on how it will affect a certain part of your model. If you have a body and you have a bone in your arm, that bone will only affect the skin around that bone. Not it will not affect um, a part of your leg or your hip. So you have to map um, that information on how much your I don't want to start from here. Your bone will affect your mesh, your skin, or your model. And that process is a bit slow. There is a very nice way to do that in Blender. They call it automatic ways. So it kind of knows what part of your mesh um, it needs to affect based on the simplest way, which is distance. I would like to think is that. And then if you go, well, if you try your new rig, you might find some imperfections, but since most of the mapping is already made, you only have to fix those small details. Meaning, like, uh, there's a reason why animation starts with a T pose, and it's because if your arm is too close your hip, when you do that mapping, you might by just by mere distance, one will affect the other. So this way, all bones are separate from each other the best they can, so the software doesn't screw it up. So that's the way I normally do my rigs. I'm not quite experienced into it, but it's because I don't do that every day. If I had a better experience, I will be. I mean, if I do that every day, I will have a great, great experience. But I don't, and that's when the conversation about doing things every day helps you to learn stuff. So, what's the thing about doing anything every day? So right now I'm sculpting. Um, Not exactly creating a new piece every day, but I'm sculpting every day, and probably because of repetition, I will get bored, and I will try to find new ways to speed my process. So I might find with uh, this mush thing we call brain, we might find a solution for that, and the fastest way to sculpt. Um, and I think that that's the benefit of doing anything every day. Oh boy. There was one reason that why I didn't want to stop yesterday. It's because I was adding some sub details like this curlicue or kind of vein or whatever here on the armor, and I just recalled that I was doing that yesterday, and I didn't want it to break with the full idea of what I was trying to do it, and just like um, doing something or adding detail just because you feel like to. Um, and if you feel like you could add a new curve or anything, just go for it. Um, as I mentioned yesterday, um, I've created a couple of extra chess pieces, but the thing is that I actually didn't like it. I was trying to emulate the way the helmet looks, and certainly there are parts that have the same aesthetics, like the spikes. Um, yeah, here in the back. But in the front, I was trying to do that, like trying to add spikes there, and it was not working. I did a one version that I absolutely hated, and I hated it that much that I deleted. I deleted the layer, and then I come up with second version. That still exists. And even when it looks kind of like or goes in the style of the helmet, it even has some weird dents here. I was not happy with it, and I think it's mainly because this huge spike in the middle where everything joins, and I don't like it. So after destroying the first and um, adding a new layer to create this new one, it was like a weird process. Like I was just looking at the helmet and I started to create these curves because I just wanted to add something that was part of the look and feel of the helmet without, I don't know, I just added them. And like right after I made them, I just woke up because it was such an involuntary movement that I when I made those. I just did and that's it. And I woke up, oh, I did that. But I noticed that the shapes match it. Um, even when they are not the same, I like that it preserves um, the look and feel of the helmet without being a direct copy. And in the back, I knew that I wanted to add these spikes from the beginning, so it went quite well. And the shoulders too. When I created the chest piece, I added like a curve here, and I didn't want exactly that into the chest piece, but I knew that it was going to be at the shoulder, so I just kept it there. And yeah, and then the hip protection, even that I still feel like it lacks detail, but um, I think that maybe, I mean, thinking about functionality, even when I know that this is not a real armor, I know if you put your arms down, probably your hands, if these leg pieces will have a lot of spikes, your hands will touch them, and if they are too pointy, you might cut. And I don't know. As I say, I want, as I said, I wanted to bring a bit of realism, um, because if not, it will start to look fake. Um, I would love to think that I someday could print this and wear it. But I don't know. Someday maybe. I don't know. Talking about organic. So yesterday was trying to decide what new shapes to add here. Since I created that scaffold, some of the shapes remain. Some are nice, and I decided to keep them like this right here. You just enhance it a bit, and they look like veins or part of if um if the arm uh, pops through the armor, and I find that quite interesting. But so okay, what I'm doing right now is just looking around and see if I could add something aesthetically pleasing that I think that goes with the armor. And well, it's a hard choice because um, in a way it looks fine the way it is, but I know that is also a thing that I've done before, because I get so used to the way a thing is, a painting or uh, or a sculpture or anything, a project in general. Um, you get so used to the way it looks, like, or like naming something, putting a name on something, and you don't want to change it because of that. So if I know that something can be improved, I should do it right now. So what I see is that on the inner side of the arm, there's not much there. Oh, and I'm saying that I should add detail right now, even when the hip pieces do not have that much detail, and I should have done that previously, and that's, I think that I should do this now. But I like those huge marks over here. Should just like enhance them in a way. Whoop, too big. Um, like blend him to the armor a bit. Um, there's also another reason that why I don't want to add too many details, and it's because I wanted to add later custom etching. I mean, there's a lot of blank spaces in between. Also here, and in the helmet too, there are areas in between areas, like this or here in the forehead. I could just add more resolution and add a bit of detail, but the thing is, I'm adding unnecessary geometry in a thing that I know I can add later. Um, Doing like a kind of a drawing. So yeah, the arm will be like this vertically. I think it's fine this way. The most important is the outside and the back with the elbow spike. So now I only have to think what piece should I add now. I think I will go for the knee. Um, but first, I think I will add a bit of detail into the hip protection. I like this. I like this curve. I think it can be as big as that one. You know, I think it's how much can I expand this? Just like a hint, like exaggerating the curve a bit more, and it might not notice right now, or it's not noticeable, but Since I'm going for the knee, um, I'm going I'm going for the same effect with the knee. So I think that might look better. Also think that stream is taking too long. Yeah, okay, almost an hour. I will just try to describe the um okay, this is the arms. And we'll add a new layer. And increase one more time. Okay. And I need to add my body reference. I'm using the left leg in this case. So, okay. I think I will need to look at some references. I don't have many leg references here. I think what I should have done is to. Well, it's weird because it's a hip protection and leg, but not entirely. Um, you know, it's not totally full leg protection. It's just like feel space. I don't know if I will change that later. So here we go. Let me see. Uh, Okay, I'm not entirely sure about this, but if it looks good in general, I might leave them there. Um, I think I should add later the shin piece, the lower part of the leg and the feet to have a more general idea of what I think is right, because I'm not entirely sure. And this part of the learning process. So I created two chest pieces before I settle for the one I like. I probably am doing this um, knee pad or protection, and I am having a feeling that I might not like it, but I could be wrong. So I'll just go with it. Let's fail all the way with this. So right now it's near 7 o'clock. I'll try to finish this pad and at least you have a general sense of what I am trying to achieve, and that will be it. And I'll finish with the stream. Having a bit of a lag, just a little, not much. I think it's quite interesting that even when I know I'm working with a very complex mesh, it's been quite smooth. The whole process of sculpting, meaning that usually there is no lag, or I should be with this size probably on my knees right now. Probably because I should need more horsepower, but no, it's quite effective. Medium is quite effective into memory management. There was a time I think it was not good, but they fixed it. There was also a complication with Oculus Home, but they also fixed that. There was a time when it was unbearable to have Oculus Home and Medium at the same time, but now you can watch, um, open a window with your desktop and watch a movie while you're sculpting, and that's amazing. Doesn't look that bad. Okay. the thing about the sculpting this way, um, against a base mesh blocking and adding detail over time, is that I know or have, um, I mean, I can represent my idea, I think, faster of what I have in mind. But if I am blocking, um, I might get lost into trying to give the right shape. When using this way, or using this way, you have your whole structure, defined, and you just have to fill the blanks. Now, I think doing it this way for faces, um, it's weird. I mean, I think that it doesn't work right. So maybe I haven't figured it out yet, or truly blocking and adding detail is more effective, um, for faces than doing it this way. I think it might end up well. I've done, I've made a couple of faces with this technique, and mostly what I get is like funny face, not a hyper realistic face. I mean, I've tried, but it's not like totally accurate. I could try to build a totally realistic scaffold, but I think that for that, a regular technique for sculpting, like clay techniques, um, that's what you should follow if you are trying to sculpt the face. I'm a bit stubborn with my sculpting, so for everything else, I think I will use this. But human body and um, you have to use that blocking. It makes more sense because you have to sculpt muscles, so you could use one of those spheres, the scaled, or skewed, and you can work on top of that, and that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, here's the knee. It doesn't look that bad. So, okay, I think it looks nice so far. And I am going to end the stream. Um, I think next time I will go for the shoulders and the shins and the shoes, and I think that'll be it. I don't know if I want to spend time sculpting hands or gloves. It might take a lot of time, not just for sculpting, but thinking about rigging. Um, so I'm gonna leave this way, and see you guys later.